What is going on, guys? It's the Inside the Blue Podcast, episode number 54. And today we're breaking down the New York Giants preview against the Las Vegas Raiders. Huge game for the Giants as they look to really just get a win on, their third win of the season. And it's not been good. This is a team that's probably going to miss the playoffs, or most certainly. And this team really just hasn't gotten anything, hasn't really got anything going for them. The offense has been bad. Defense has, had some bright spots. Coaching has not been, as good as it was last year. I know, a lot of you guys were telling me, about Brian Daboll and how bad he has been this year. I think Brian Daboll has been poor for sure. I think he's not been the coach he was in 2022, where he was aggressive, he was going for it, he was taking risk. This year he's really played it more conservative, and I don't think he has as much trust in the offense this year as he did last year. I know, talent-wise, this team still needs talent, right? I think at the wide receiver position especially, they're not, a great team, in that category. I personally think that we don't have great wide receivers. And I know you say Jalin Hyatt, he doesn't get played much. I think he really needs to get some reps. I think, even if it's not for a deep threat, I think he's a guy that you can use in so many ways. He's got electric speed. He's probably, honestly, the fastest wide receiver on this team. And they just don't really use him. And I think as a coach, you need to find ways to get Jalin Hyatt in this offense because he's a threat. He has shown multiple times, if you even throw it downfield, he's going to come up with the football. If you throw it to him, he's going to get the football. I mean, he had maybe, the only drop I can really remember was just a bad pass from Daniel Jones. But this team's 2-6. And essentially the season is over. But now they still have a lot of football to be played. This is week 9. They are 2-6. And they play a Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry, I almost said the Oakland Raiders. Las Vegas Raiders team that isn't really much better than you, even though they have one more win. They're 3-5. This team just fired their head coach and GM. Josh McDaniels is gone. He is gone for good. And, he still had 4 years left on that contract, but the Raiders felt, they're not good in these categories, and they feel that they need a new voice in this team. Even though I think he ranked like 12th in the league with like yards per game, or points per game, something like that. But I never loved the Josh McDaniels signing, to be honest, and it's probably for the best for him to not be coaching right now. Take a break, regroup, and also Aiden O'Connell is getting his first. He's getting the start against the Giants defense, and this Giants defense has been really good. So, I think one of the keys to the game is to play really good defense, and obviously scoring has been a struggle for the Giants, and that's honestly kind of why they're 2-6 in my opinion. I think there was definitely a few games, like we mentioned before, that if you played a mediocre offensive game, you're probably winning them. I think you look at that Seattle game, the Bills game, the Jets game. Those are 3 wins alone. And, I mean, it is annoying. It's definitely annoying that this is how the season has gone. Because as a Giants fan, we've gone through a lot. I know we made the playoffs last year, but it's annoying. And I just don't like seeing the Giants like this again. Because us Giants fans, we've had enough. We have had enough of poor football and talking about the same things over and over again. Oh, the Giants are bad this year. Oh, the Giants look to tank this year. Oh, the Giants look to get a high draft pick this year. Oh, another bad year from the coaching staff. Oh, and a new coaching staff. Like, it's just a whole cycle with this franchise. And now I do believe this is probably the best staff we've had, even though Brian Daboll hasn't been that good this year. I still think he should be the head coach moving forward. Because I just think the reason, Daboll hasn't been as aggressive is he just knows how the team has been playing, and it's not been good. So he doesn't want to take that risk because he kind of has, an observation or an assumption of how that, that fourth down would happen, or, I guess you could call it a field goal, but I mean, the whole field goal situation was basically him just putting Graham Gano in a bad spot. I mean, if Graham Gano starts against the Raiders, it raises a lot of eyebrows because this guy is battling a knee injury, and we're still starting him. I mean, yes, it's only Wednesday, the day I'm recording this, but we still have till Sunday. So maybe things, change. Maybe they make a signing in the next upcoming games. It's not like, you're bringing in like a tight end or someone who needs to know the offense. He's a kicker. His job is just to put it, in the field goal. Just make field goals. Really, that's all. That is all a kicker's job needs to do. And for a punter, just make good punts. It's a very simple job in the NFL is to be a punter or a kicker. Probably the easiest job. I take that back. Kicking a field goal is not that easy, but these guys have been kicking field goals for a while now. So there should be no reason why he does not make a 30-yard field goal. But Graham Gano is injured, and I'd be surprised if he plays. But also, I wouldn't be just because how they've been monitoring this injury. But some more news. Daniel Jones returns from a neck injury, and he looks to improve. Let's talk about Daniel Jones a bit. His season has been a disaster. We look at the numbers. It is just not good at all. Daniel Jones, they signed him to a 4-year deal, knowing that nose is running. Sorry about that, guys. They signed Daniel Jones to a contract that pays him a lot of money. And right now, Daniel Jones is nowhere near worth $40 million. And I never liked the contract, to be honest. I wouldn't have minded bringing back Daniel Jones on the right price. But, $40 million is a lot of money for a franchise QB. And who knows? With how he's been playing, he's kind of running himself out of town. It's just been a tough season for Daniel Jones. The neck injury, him getting crushed from Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, Chase Young, all these elite pass rushers. And now he's got to take on Max Crosby this week. It's going to be a battle. This Giants team has not scored, and their offensive line is not good. I don't know if Andrew Thomas is playing this week, if any of y'all had questions about that. But we get into the Raiders' defense, and I think just one of the reasons why I think this Giants team can win is the Raiders are not a great team. I know they're 3-5, but they're not particularly a great team. And I think the biggest thing that points out is their fourth down conversions. 66.6%. The Giants better be going for it on fourth down. I think they learned their mistake. I think Brian Daboll learned their mistake. I think their offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, learned a lesson. Is that you have to go for it on fourth down, no matter who your QB is. You have Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs in the league. Just run the football. And also, don't give him 36 carries, please. Let's space it out so we don't see him on the IL again. Okay, because they destroyed him with carries. That was the most he's ever had in a game, I believe. And, the Raiders don't play the run very well. They're one of the, poor teams against the run. So let's run the football. Let's run the damn football, and let's run it well. And their offensive production in the last 3 games, they're averaging 15 points per game. So this is a game that the Giants can definitely win, but it really relies on the offense. The defense I'm not worried about at all. I know they lost Leonard Williams. We broke down that trade. We thought it was very well for the Giants. They got a lot of value out of a player that had a pretty, decent year, but was just making too much money. And now they got that contract off the books. They tried to trade Adoree Jackson, but they traded him and they got the deal done. But when they got the deal done, it was past 4 o'clock. So that's why the Adoree Jackson trade did not go through. And, another thing with this Giants offense is they have to want it, right? This offense has to want it, and they got to be explosive. These wide receivers got to create some sort of separation. I don't think really any of the wide receivers they have been really doing that, right? Paris Campbell, he has not touched the field very much this season, and he was supposed to be a guy that would help Daniel Jones. So he hasn't done really much. Darius Slayton, you haven't really heard from him that much, who had a pretty decent year last year. Jalen Hyatt hasn't gotten enough touches. Sterling Shepard, I honestly rarely see him on the field. Isaiah Hodgins, in all due respect, he has just not been good. And the thing is with last year, we look at last year compared to this year with teams and the Giants team in 2022 and the Giants team in 2023. The Giants were able to win games with practice squad players, Reggie James, Isaiah Hodgins, all of these, practice squad players making an impact. This year, they're playing against good defenses and good offensive talent, and even good defensive talent, right? Devin Witherspoon from the Seattle Seahawks. Look how he played against the Giants. All these young guys having really good impacts against this Giants offense. This year, the Giants aren't getting away with that because they're playing better teams. And I know a lot of criticism goes on Brian Daboll, but I think a lot of it has to go on Joe Schoen, too, for not building this roster up enough. And I think, one, they only have one tight end currently on the active roster. That's Daniel Bellinger, at least that I know of. And listen, I love Joe Schoen. I think he's a good GM, and I think he's done a lot well this year in terms of bringing in and exporting out. I thought he did a really good job with the Isaiah Simmons trade, and I thought he did a good job with the trade for Leonard Williams. But I just think, going into this offseason, draft well. And also get more talent. This team needs more talent. And I think if they do that and they bring in more talent and they draft well. Drafting well is the biggest thing for this Giants team, because if they're going to pick high in this draft this year and they're going to suck this year, you better hit on some picks. You better be hitting on picks right now. We get into the Giants were averaging 21.2 points per game last year. This year they're only averaging 11, really. So yeah, really what happened to this Giants offense? a lot more talent and are playing a lot better defenses. And I think this is just, kind of, a message to Joe Schoen that he just needs to get more talent. I think he's more than capable of doing it. I know he can do it. And I think he's got a lot of respect from the front office. And I think, he's definitely going to do a good job. And, what I said earlier about Joe Schoen, I don't mean it like, oh, get rid of this guy. He has done a horrible job this year. No. Things happen in a franchise. GMs make mistakes. GMs do this. It happens. It's a business. I think Joe Schoen's a really good GM in this league, and I think he's got a bright future for this Giants squad. And I think he knows, kind of what to do and how he's going to do it. It's a big, it's a important draft coming up. Let's get into the Q&A to wrap this up. So, I really like this first question. We got 3 questions today. The first question of the day. Why is Brian Daboll playing soft and not aggressive? I think we kind of touched on this earlier in the podcast. The team, he doesn't trust a lot of people on this team, I feel like. And it's hard to cut them, and it's hard to get rid of them now because trade deadline's over, all this. And I think he's just playing soft, really, because he just doesn't trust people right now. And as a coach, that's kind of rude, I guess you could say, because why don't you trust these players, and why are they on the field then if you don't trust them? It's 4th and 1. That's a place. You get the first down. You win the game. You have Saquon Barkley. There should be no reason why you don't run the football there and get the first down. And then instead of 2 and 6, you're 3 and 5. So I think he just lack of trust, really, and he needs to be more aggressive against this Raiders team. A second question is about Daboll again. Is I have this weird feeling that Daboll got carried by Allen and Diggs. Daboll's offense is in shambles. Thoughts? So I don't necessarily think Allen and Diggs really needed Daboll. I think those 2 players I just mentioned are just superstars, and whoever their coach is, they'll make an impact. So I think just because of that, really. And I don't think Daboll got carried. It's just there's no Allen or Diggs on the Giants. So this is what Daboll has to work with, and it hasn't panned out well because they're just not as talented. Third question is to wrap up the pod is, would it be bad to win Sunday because it is very likely they win on Sunday given how bad the Raiders have played this year? Also, if they win against the Raiders, it doesn't help their draft position. True. It does not help if they win, but listen, the Giants are going to win games, right? They're not just going to go 2-15 the rest of the year. They're going to win games, all right? The Giants aren't that bad to be where they are necessarily. They've made a lot of mistakes this year, and it's costed them. So I think, if the Giants win, cool. They won. All right, now they're 3-6. It's good to see, but I just don't see the Giants losing to this Raiders squad because the Giants are a bad football team this year, but I don't think they're, Bears level, Cardinals level bad. And I know the Cardinals actually gave the Giants kind of a run this year because of the fact that, the game was actually close, and if Daniel Jones didn't ball out, they were going to lose that game. But, yeah, I mean, the Giants got a lot of work to do, whether it's in the offseason and drafting well, or they just got to figure things out this year and kind of end on a high note. I mean, I know there's a lot of, people telling me, is Caleb Williams going to be a Giant? Are we going to get Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, Joe Alt? Who are we going to get, Finn? Who are we going to get? And, I don't have an answer. But I do know the Giants are going to win, games. and they're not going to finish 2-15. I'll tell you that. But anyways, this has been the Inside Blue Podcast, episode 54. Preview against the Raiders. Big game for the Giants, of course. Got a few days until they actually play, but regardless, it's been the Inside the Blue Podcast. Let's go, Giants. See you guys in the next one.